Hey, I'm Rob Pittman, and this is some more AP Human Geography. I'm trapped inside a box. Oh my, I can't get out. But now I'm back. So it's all good. All right, so first, we're looking at cultural ecology, right? Study how humans have interacted or adapted to their environments. There's two big kind of ones we're looking at: environmental determinism and possibilism. 18th century environmental determinism basically laid out an idea that the people in the temperate zones, right in here, are better off, like organically, because they're in a better climate. If you look, the temperate zone is America and Western Europe. Basically, it was a way for us to say, as a culture, Western civilization, we're better than you. Why? Well, not only is our brains good and our phrenology, which is study of the bumps on your head, but we also are just in a better climate. This goes along with ideas of social Darwinism, which said, survival of the fittest, but applied it to society. So if our culture's doing good and your culture isn't, well, that's because that's how it's supposed to be, survival of the fittest. It is nature. Look at this last bit. It said because people live in hotter areas, they're going to be more relaxed. They don't want to get out and do stuff. They're going to have quote, quote, siestas, things like that makes it happen. It's a cover for racism is what it comes down to. As people started to evolve a little bit in their thinking, they kind of hit on this idea of possibilism. Possibilism is stating the idea that, yeah, your climate limits your culture to a degree, but it's really the role of how our culture modifies that environment is what we really need to look at, and not saying, oh, you live in, say, England, you're going to be better off than the people that live in Africa. It just doesn't work like that. I'll do a head shake again. No. All right. Here's some examples of possibilism, how people have taken their environment and then created new possibilities. This is the Palm Island. This is in Dubai, in the Middle East. And as you can see, they just made an island in the ocean. And they made it kind of cool looking. Dubai has other ones. They're working on one for the globe, where it's like a projection of the globe, and they're making that work. So that's an example of that. Hoover Dam in America. Here's an example of possibilism. I mean, this is a dry desert. This dam feeds water to Los Angeles. It feeds it to Phoenix, Arizona. All of these things are not there. One thing to note, this at the start was up here at the top. Now it's even down lower than this. And another good example of this comes from the Incas, South America, down in Peru, where they would do terrace farming. They had the Andes Mountains. That's a mountain range, one of the world's biggest, if you didn't know. They had to create ways to cultivate food to make that happen. So they were able to do that. Now, so we think about maps, we got to think about scales of analysis. So we got the idea of global, all the way down to the smallest kind of parcel, which is a census tract. So as we look at stuff in different pictures, you got to go from here to here. Think about, I'm going to show you guys, I've already showed you guys stuff about COVID. I'm recording this beforehand, so it's not. If we look at world data, take it down to the US, take it down to local things, it all has a different scale to it. So we got the idea of small scale maps to large scale maps. If you look at where Atlanta is in the big picture of America, it's here. If you look at it in the Southwest, where it's located. So here, it's in our southeast. Here, it's in the northern part of the southeast. If you look at just a map of Georgia, it gets here, and then the size of it. You got to look at the scale too. That dictates how much information that we're going to be getting out. If we look at this one, we're going to look at it the sense of poverty. Here, a world thing, some of the poorest countries in the world, people who make less than $2 a day. We have it all centered here, India, a little bit in Latin America. But then we take it and we look at it by our country, percentage of people living in poverty, US, Puerto Rico. And then you can have a different look at it. It's a different scale. America's not even on that, on the first map, but here we still have our issues. There are people in America who makes $2 a day. Extra point question, first day we come back to class after this video. How many Americans make less than $2 a day? So if we look at it from scale, world to the nation. Another way to look at scale, this is by state, take it into county, all right? Huge difference. Take a look at Texas. Here, it's this like 13 to 15.9%. And then you pop it here, you see there's large spots that don't have that much poverty. Same thing for Iowa, light blue. Here, you know, it's mostly like white and even the lighter blue. So it shows that scale can be different. We also got regions. Take a quick look at this map. It has all these different areas listed for regions. Regions are so debatable. If I looked at the Middle East, I would argue that's not a correct region for me. You know, I put the Middle East from here to here. But, you know, North Africa's added in. So there's a whole bunch of different ones that are put into it. There are some overlaps, as you guys can see here. You know, Latin America can go all the way from Central America to the tip. Sometimes Mexico is parceled out as something different. When we look at regions, we got to think of it in an analysis kind of sense. You know, if you take Iowa and then you apply, doesn't necessarily do the same things apply in Iowa that they apply in Minnesota, Illinois, you know, Nebraska, and parts of Wisconsin? No, not necessarily. You know, you take it out into, say, the national thing, then it gets bigger. A regional area, America ourselves is a region in its own right. Regions can be defined as formal, functional, and vernacular. Okay, I had you guys watch some 5 themes of geography about this. Functional regions, this is something to kind of consider and ponder, right? Sports teams that people like in general. You know, you got the Broncos, you got the Chiefs, you got the Vikings, you have the Bears. You know, I grew up in Des Moines. I was a Chicago Cubs fan and a Chicago Bears fan. You know, people, Coach Williams, who grew up here, you know, he's a Minnesota Vikings fan and a St. Louis Cardinals fan. Well, I have no idea. So it's just some differences that happen. Look at how Texas, Cowboys, they dominate that whole area. Pardon me. Formal region is united by one specific trait. It can be political, economical, social, environmental. Like, you know, the Rocky Mountain region, that's an environmental one. America, Canada, political ones. Social ones, you know, can be a way of like thinking, a language that they use. And then economic ones, every country that, you know, uses the United States dollar. So America. One way to look at the economic one, another way, is the European Union, all right? It's a free trade union for all the countries in Europe except for the UK, who's like, Brexit, I want to get out, which we can discuss that more as we get into economics. One aspect to think about, Islamic world distribution of Muslims. You know, you can see how it's in Africa, it's in the Middle East. What's interesting, this is percentage of population practicing Islam. Boom, 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 boom. India itself has more people practicing Islam than almost this whole entire area. But the percentage is not as high. So see, sometimes map and that data, there's some things to think about and how it's a little off. Political regions, states capital, Europe, pretty straightforward. Environmental, Sahara Desert, all right? In American Southwest, we have the Painted Desert there. China, the Gobi Desert. You know, so it can be desert areas. If I'd go lower in Africa, then we'd have the savanna. Right past Sudan, you'd have the savanna. You have tropics, you have different areas. All of those things can be there. Functional regions, these are organized around like a focal point, a node of travel, of action, of doing things, distribution. Good point. If I'm flying, say, nationally, I might fly out of Des Moines or Minneapolis. But if I fly international, I'm not going to fly out of Des Moines. I'm going to fly out of Minneapolis. All right? That's my functional region for that. Think like distribution centers. You know, down in Cedar Falls, they have a Target distribution center. That hits our area for like the functional region. Another way to look at it is gas prices. Why is gas cheaper in Mason City? The distribution point for gas and oil for our area is in Mason City. All right, perceptual / vernacular. I'm from the Midwest. You know, you're from the Midwest. But do we necessarily think somebody from Ohio is the Midwest? I don't think so, but they do. It's crazy. It gives a sense of place, cultural identity. Boundaries often vary widely. When I was a kid, I used to always say, yeah, I'm from Wyoming. I'm not from the Midwest. Wyoming, you know, it has this own kind of area into it. But like other people would be like, yeah, you're from the Rocky Mountains, bud. You know, I had issues in elementary school. One thing to think about for regional boundaries. They change, they're contested, they're overlapping. They don't necessarily mean a lot. Look at all these different areas like this, right? You know, Iowa's here in the Great Plains. Iowa here is in the upper Midwest. You know, southeast, southern, south central, Rocky Mountains, Pacific Northwest, Pacific Southwest, Pacific Islanders, Aleutian Islands. All of those places can be like, you know, regional boundaries that people look at. Here's a good question for you. How would you define your region? Something to ponder. And I believe that is it. I will see you later. Bye-bye.